So, today we're diving into one of Apple's boldest and honestly most controversial rumored projects, an AI-powered wearable pin. It's a device that's supposed to completely change how we interact with technology, but here's the kicker. It's a concept that has already failed, spectacularly.
To really get what Apple is up to, we've got to rewind a bit to the beginning of 2024. The entire tech world was buzzing about this new category of device. The promise was this incredible screen-free future, led by a sleek little wearable called the Humane AI Pen. I mean, this was hyped as the next big thing.
Yeah, spoiler alert, it wasn't. Despite all the hype, all the money, the Humane AI Pin was a total commercial disaster. It sold fewer than 10,000 units. Why? Well, it was slow, it would overheat, the battery was just awful. And the company was pretty quickly forced to sell off its assets.
And that right there is the million-dollar question, isn't it? After watching that very public, very expensive train wreck, why in the world would Apple, the most meticulous, careful company in tech, reportedly be developing its own version of an AI pin?
All right, let's get into it. And to do that, we first have to understand the cautionary tale of the Humane AI Pin. You know, what went so disastrously wrong, and what lessons can Apple maybe learn from it?
So, get this. The Humane Pin was actually founded by two former Apple employees, which honestly makes its failure even more wild. Their vision was super ambitious, a standalone device that would finally free us from our phone screens. But the reality was a product that was just riddled with issues. We're talking slow responses, it would get uncomfortably hot to the touch, and the battery life? Oh man, it was a complete and total deal breaker.
And then there was the price. Oh boy. The device itself was a whopping $699. And that's not even the crazy part. On top of that, you had to pay a mandatory $24 a month subscription just for the thing to work. That's a huge ask for an unproven product. And right there, that's the core problem, you see. For that insane price, what did you get? A device that, according to pretty much every review, could barely last 4 hours. The whole idea of a seamless, all-day assistant just, poof, it's gone, if it can't even make it through half a workday.
Okay, so now let's pivot to Apple's rumored contender and see how they're planning to do things differently. And honestly, the leaks give us a surprisingly clear picture of what Apple is cooking up.
So according to the reports, what we're looking at is this little circular disc about the size of an AirTag, just a tad thicker. And you know it's Apple, so it's got that premium aluminum and glass shell. It sounds like they're packing a ton of tech in there too. Dual cameras, one standard, one wide angle, a 3-mic array, a tiny little speaker, and just one single physical button. And for charging, it's going to be wireless, just like your Apple Watch.
Okay, so a really important disclaimer here. This thing is reportedly still in super early development, so, it could totally get canceled. But the rumored target for release? 2027. And what's really fascinating about that date is it puts Apple on a collision course with another device, one that's launching in late 2026 from OpenAI, and, get this, Jony Ive, Apple's legendary former design chief. So yeah, the race is definitely on.
All right, so here's where things get really interesting. The crucial thing to understand isn't just what the pin is, but how Apple plans to make it work. And this is where Apple's strategy is completely different from everything we've seen before.
You see, Humane tried to replace the smartphone. It was a standalone thing, needed its own data plan, its own software, and that was its fatal mistake. Apple? They're not doing that. Not at all. Their AI pin is being designed to be an iPhone companion. It's meant to extend the power of the phone you already have using the entire Apple ecosystem you're already plugged into.
So what's the brain of this whole operation? Well, it's going to be a completely rebuilt, supercharged Siri. Reports are saying there's a new conversational chatbot on the way, codenamed Campos, set to land with iOS 27. And it's going to be powered, in part, by Google's incredibly powerful Gemini AI. And all of this is built on top of Apple Intelligence, which is their new framework designed to process your personal data right on your device. That's Apple's big play for privacy. So the pin itself is basically just a hands-free remote control for this way, way smarter Siri.
And this whole idea points to a bigger vision, something the tech world calls ambient computing. Look, the goal here is to make technology fade into the background. So instead of you having to pull out your phone, unlock it, find an app, and tap around, the intelligence is just there. It's all around you, in the background, ready to help when you need it, without you even having to think about it. That's the world Apple is trying to build with this pin.
Okay, but, and this is a big but,
This whole vision of an always-on, always-aware device brings us to some massive hurdles that Apple has to clear. Because a device that's always listening and always seeing, yeah, that creates some pretty serious challenges.
This comment from a reader on Mac Rumors it perfectly sums up the public's gut reaction. There's this natural and, honestly, very healthy skepticism about strapping a device with an always-on camera and microphone to your chest. It feels kind of creepy, right?
And that creepy feeling leads to a whole minefield of challenges. First up, privacy. I mean, how do you convince not just the person wearing it, but everyone around them that this isn't some tiny surveillance device? Then you've got social acceptance. Is it going to be weird or awkward to talk to somebody who's wearing a camera? Third, battery life. Come on, it has to last all day or it's useless. And finally, the big one, utility. Does this thing actually solve a real problem that your iPhone and Apple Watch don't already handle just fine?
So with all those problems, all those hurdles, why is Apple even bothering? Well, the simple answer is that the potential payoff is absolutely enormous. This isn't just about selling a new gadget, this is about owning the next major computing platform.
Analysts are projecting the wearable AI market is going to be worth over $200 billion by 2032. For a company like Apple, this is the next great frontier after the smartphone. They simply cannot afford to sit this one out while their competitors define what's next.
And as you can see, they are not walking into an empty room here. Meta is already out there shipping its Ray-Ban smart glasses. And that OpenAI device from Johnny Ive? That's a huge threat, combining a legendary designer with the world's leading AI model. So you've got all these major players, and each one is taking a different crack at it. A different form factor, a different key advantage, from Apple's deep ecosystem integration to OpenAI's sheer AI power.
And this brings us right back to the ultimate question. Apple is making a huge bet here. They're betting that with their ecosystem, their new software, and their typical patient approach, they can succeed where Humane crashed and burned. But they're up against some huge technical and social hurdles. So, what do you think? Is the Apple AI Pin a real glimpse into a seamless, screenless future? Or is it just another ambitious gadget that's going to end up as a collector's item? One thing's for sure, the race for our lapels has officially begun.